Hi there, Matt here with thevirtualinstructor.com, and in this lesson we're going to take a look at 5 tools and techniques for blending colored pencils. We'll take a look at both wax-based colored pencils and oil-based colored pencils, and we'll compare each one of the tools and techniques with each type of pencil so you have a clear picture as to what blending technique works best for your own colored pencil drawings. And we'll also take a look at that obvious factor that you may be overlooking that seriously affects the blending of your colored pencils. Let's go ahead and take a look. We'll start here by taking a look at the wax-based colored pencils first, and I'm using Prismacolor Premier pencils for this. We'll layer a bit of ultramarine over the top of crimson red, and we'll create a transition zone. And you can see the pencils blend pretty nicely when you go back and forth and create somewhat of a transition. Next, we'll take a look at using a Prismacolor blending marker, and you can see the blending marker here. We've already gone ahead and created that transition like we did with the first example. Now we'll apply the marker over the top, and you can see that the marker actually dissolves some of the colored pencil material, creating a smoother transition and some nice blending. There is some streaking that occurs though with this marker. Next, we'll take a look at an Artist Loft colored pencil blender. Again, this is a marker, and it will have a similar effect as you'll see as the Prismacolor blending marker. Again, it's dissolving the colored pencil material on the surface, creating a smooth transition and blending the colored pencil material on the surface. Here you can see that the streaks are a little bit more noticeable with this particular marker. Now, another popular option is to use baby oil to dissolve the colored pencil material. Of course, we'll use a nylon brush to apply the baby oil over the top of the transition. And you can see there's quite a bit more control, or at least I feel there's quite a bit more control here with the baby oil. The transition's a little bit nicer and the blending is a little bit smoother. Now we'll take a look at using Terpenoid Natural, and of course this does have somewhat of an odor associated with it, so if that's something that you're sensitive to, you want to watch out for that. But the terpenoid, you can see here, really does a great job of dissolving the colored pencil material and creating a nice smooth transition. It blends the colored pencils really nicely. All right, the last option that we're going to look at is using a colorless blender. Now, this is a pencil made by Prismacolor, and it basically just has the colored pencil material in the shaft of the pencil, but without any color. And what this is going to do is it's going to create an additional layer of wax, and it actually burnishes the colored pencil material on the surface, creating a smooth transition, but it also lightens the value slightly. Now, of course, there are oil-based colored pencils as well, so we'll be using Faber-Castell's Polychromos pencils here for this demonstration. And again, we'll create a control where we don't use any additional tools or additives to aid in the blending. I'm just layering phthalo blue over the top of cadmium yellow to create that transition. And you can see, though, oil-based pencils do a pretty good job of blending on their own without additional tools. All right, next we'll revisit the Prismacolor blending marker again using the oil-based pencils and have a look at how this particular tool works. And you can see right off the bat that the blending marker doesn't do quite as good a job with the oil-based colored pencils creating a smooth blending effect. It lightens the value slightly and it's, again, a little bit streaky. Now again, for the Artist Loft colored pencil blender, somewhat of a similar result as what we see with the Prismacolor blending marker. Again, you can still see the texture of the colored pencil applications. In fact, this is going to be the case with the oil-based pencils across the board. You're still going to see some of that texture or tooth of the paper showing through, even though we've added a bit of a blending medium. All right, next with the baby oil, and you can see the baby oil does a pretty good job dissolving the oil-based colored pencils. In fact, it's creating a pretty nice green in between the phthalo blue and the cadmium yellow. There's quite a bit of control here as well. I really feel like using a brush gives you a bit more control than using the marker. All right, with the terpenoid, again, we can see that the oil-based pencils dissolve relatively nicely and we get a nice smooth transition from blue to yellow with a nice yellow-green area in between and even some blue-green showing up there as well. So the terpenoid does an excellent job. And lastly, with the colorless blender, even though the colorless blender is wax-based, it does a relatively good job blending the oil-based colored pencils. There's a smooth transition of color. We can see blue greens and yellow greens and a nice transition. And what's that obvious factor that you may be overlooking that seriously affects the blending that you can achieve with colored pencils? Well, it's the paper, of course. The tooth or texture of the paper seriously affects the transitions of color and value and the blending that you can achieve with colored pencils. Smoother papers like Bristol paper will result in smoother transitions of color and value and easier blending. The drawback, of course, to using a smoother paper like this is you can't apply as many applications of colored pencils to the surface. The tooth just won't be able to accept them. But heavier papers, such as pastel paper, allow for those multiple applications of colored pencils. But the drawback, of course, is you have to apply multiple layers before you get to a point where blending becomes easy. So I hope this video helped you out. I hope these tips are tips that you can apply to your own colored pencil drawings. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe to this channel or head over to thevirtualinstructor.com where you can learn more about colored pencils and all different forms of art making. Thank you so much for watching. If you're ready to learn more about drawing and painting, then why not check out our extensive membership program, which includes comprehensive video courses, weekly live lessons, ebooks, lesson plans, and much, much more. Just click on the button in the center of your screen or click on the card in the upper right-hand corner to learn more.